Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Spiritual Scientist. I'm Victor Hamza. Thanks for tuning in. Just wanted to go. I was looking at my phone briefly and I just got a little fed up with the Fed. So I thought I'd go explain about. Now, CNBC Senate banking chief says. So once you have spiritual discouragers crowned, so you're going to be able to, build up that awareness of being, build up your Merkaba, build up your meditation. You're going to be able to understand more things. When you understand, you're being a higher vibrational sense. You're telling the truth all the time. You're going to be able to see through lies and like cut through it like a hot knife through butter, right? So let's analyze this, shall we? So the Fed is losing its ability to control interest rates, former Senate banking chief says. Former Senate Banking Committee Chairman Phil Gramm argues in a Wall Street Journal op ed that the Fed has less control over rates than any time in its history. The central bank is trying to raise rates and reduce its balance sheet amid worries over economic shutdown and turmoil in financial markets. Graham blames monetary excesses of the Obama administration for the current predicament. Those are the bullet points. And you read this article. Let me break it down for you a little bit. Okay. Uh, the Federal Reserve, it says here, this is by, CNBC. The Federal Reserve is in danger of losing control of how it sets interest rates, according to former chairman of the Senate. Texas Republican Phil Gramm argues in a Wall Street Journal op-ed that the central bank attempt to normalize interest rate policy while it's also reducing the size of its securities it holds on its balance sheet could go terribly wrong. Okay, first of all, I'll continue with this a little bit, but let's get something straight. The Federal Reserve is not a part of the government, right? So it's a private bank. Total, all interest rates, all interest goes directly to the bank as profit, okay? So when someone's charging interest, that's called usury. That's interest that the bank makes 100% of profit on. So in Acts, after Jesus, ascended into heaven, in Acts, there were the disciples that were, gathered a community around them and said, okay, we have a community. Let's get a community. We're going to, be all Bible believing, Bible believing, be all, they didn't really have a Bible, but they had the way from Jesus. He was the way. And they said, okay, we're going to have a community and we're going to do what the Torah and the text say and not charge usury, which is interest. Okay, so if you're a follower of Jesus, you're not supposed to charge interest. In the Torah, it says that if you have a Jew and a fellow Jew, you're not supposed to really charge interest on him, but a non-Jew, sure, charge interest, right? So let's get something clear. Usury is basically a sin, okay? So all these banks are evil. There you go. I said it. So uh, the Federal Reserve is a private bank, and they take all the money that you have and they charge you interest for it, basically. So let's break down a little more. So let's say you have a dollar. Let's say this is a dollar, right? So you go to a bank and you say, okay, I have a dollar. I want to put it somewhere. The bank says, oh, we'll hold it for you, buddy. Don't you worry. And we won't, basically, we'll give you little interest on it, but we'll hold it for you, okay? So it'll be safe. And you go, okay, so here's my dollar. And so the bank says, okay, since we have this, we can loan other people. We'll use that as collateral and we'll loan 100% of it. So now they're loaning to other people because they have that as a base. excuse me, I'm still sick. But let's say that this isn't really a dollar, it's a piece of gold, right? So they're using that gold currency in the bank, and they're saying, okay, we have this dollar's worth of gold, but we could loan out $100 to other people. And when we loan out that $100 to people, we're going to have loans to them, right? And they're going to have to pay us back because we have this original dollar as collateral. So they loan out $100. Now the people that have those $100 that are loaned, they say to back, okay, we want interest on that $100, okay? So we want interest to all you people. You borrowed a dollar, you borrowed a dollar, you borrowed a dollar. I want interest back on each individual dollar that I just loaned you from fake money that they never had in the first place, right? So they are loaning you, they're taking a loan out and paying a few pennies and a few pennies. And eventually they're paying back the dollar and then $1.50, $1.40. So the bank gets all that money back, right? So they're getting all that money back. Meanwhile, they never had any money to begin with. That original dollar coin was for me. They didn't have anything. So in essence, it's fake. It's all fake. It's all fake. The Federal Reserve is a privately owned bank, and they set interest rates whatever they want. They can't lose the ability to set interest rates because they own all the banks, okay? And they make up the interest. And that's how they make profit, among other ways that they do it. So for Phil to say that he's worried that the Federal Reserve is going to lose control of ability to raise or lower interest rates is totally ludicrous, because they're the ones setting the interest rates, because they own all the money and they own all the banks. So who owns all these banks? 14 Illuminati families, maybe? Did I say that out loud? Yeah, I did. So all these banks are set up, from the Rothschild Corporation, right, originally. And they're all like Chase and all these other ones. They're all the same bank. They just change the names, right? And they pretend to fight against each other. In the long run, it's all the same bank. Let's read this a little bit more. Texas Republican Phil Gramm argues in Wall Street Journal op-ed. I read that already. In a piece co-authored with Thomas L. Savings. Fake. Okay, the guy's name's Thomas S. Savings, a former director of the Private Enterprise Research Center at Texas A&M University. Can you smell a fake? I don't think there really is a Thomas S. Savings, director of the Private Enterprise Research Center at Texas A&M University. Or if there is, he's part of the matrix. He's a part of the simulation. He's fake, total fake. He's an NPC, if you know what I'm saying. Graham notes the intensifying debate over whether the Fed should be raising interest rates. The central bank hiked its benchmark rate 4 times in 2008 and reduced the amount of treasuries and mortgage-backed securities held by 13.6 billion or 3.4% to 3.88 trillion. Those numbers are supposed to impress you. Those numbers are supposed to say to you, oh, that's a lot of money. Yeah, I should definitely allow them to raise and lower interest rates. I don't know anything about this stuff. It's not complicated, okay? It's totally simple. Don't let all these bankers fool you with all their insider words, okay? It's basically usury, and usury is a sin. So that's basically it. All the bankers are pretty much evil, okay? And if you don't believe me, go talk to them. A lot of them don't know that the Federal Reserve is a privately owned bank. They don't know this stuff. I talk to a lot of Wall Street brokers. They don't understand that. It's like, hey, what do you think about the Fed? Slowly ease them into it. And I'm like, oh yeah, they're a private corporation, right? And they're like, huh? What? Okay, these are guys doing millions of dollars of funds. You know what it is? It's black magic. It's just wool pulled over your eyes. It is the it is them loaning you money where it's fake. Okay. President Donald Trump has repeatedly criticized Fed Chairman Jerome Powell and his colleagues for policy tightening, and he was seeking to see if he could fire the head of the Federal Reserve. I thought that was really funny. Okay, Trump, President Trump, you can't fire him because it's a private corporation. It's not part of the government, but they're printing all the money for the government. Okay? So let's get something clear. You can't fire him because it's a private company. You can't. They'll pretend to let you fire him. You could pretend to appoint somebody. They'll allow you to do that just to keep the wool over your eyes. But it's all completely fake. I mean, doesn't everybody know this? I guess not. You don't believe me? Look it up. You could go right on the Fed's website. They can't say go through it. They can't say that they're run by they're part of the government. They could pretend they could put the American flag on it. Totally not. Extraordinarily, this debate is occurring the very moment the Fed, shackled by its bloated asset holdings and the resultant excess reserves of the banking system, has less ability to control interest rates than it had in its entire 105-year history, Graham wrote. Oh, that makes me want to throw up. The apostles, after Jesus, ascended, right? They're all basically hanging out. They have a community. They're trying to get things going. They're trying to be righteous. They're pooling all their money, okay, into one account for all of them, and they lend out money where it's needed for the community, i.e., every town should have their own pool of money, get away from these banks, and have their own bank with zero interest for all the people in it. And if something's deemed worthy, they'll spend the money on it. Everybody in the community could opt in, send them money. Every month, everybody gets the balance sheet. Everybody sees everything in the open. Wow, own at zero interest? Yeah, if you have your own community, you have your own bank, you have everything set up, you set up correctly, why can't you just loan money to yourself and pay zero interest? Boom. Also, what else can we do to, straighten out this world? Well, I'm glad you asked. Okay, so let's say that we go to another country, say, listen, we're not going to attack you. We have a bond with you. We're not going to attack you. You don't attack us. Let's dismantle all these weapons of mass destruction. Okay, so let's all get together and just dismantle them. Okay, and then we dismantle all our, pretty much most of this militaries. Let's just dismantle it. If every country dismantled it, gee, if you said to somebody in another, country, um, on the other side of the world, for their resources, which you'll never see any part of, would you mind not doing that? And we'll make sure you're a multimillionaire for the rest of your life? What do you think they'd say? Let's say the average person in China. So would you not attack the United States if we can make you a multimillionaire? Because if they stopped this war machine in every country, right? If they stopped all the interest being charged, then gee, I think everybody could be a multimillionaire everywhere. There's enough resources to go around, right? It's all that greed going around. What else could we do to solve all these problems, right? Let's think. Maybe if they stop charging interest and tax. How can we stop charging tax? Let's think about that. Let's say you're a company, you're building an automobile, right? Now, we have to get the metal. So we have to go get the guy metal out of the ground. Okay, gets the metal out of the ground. Now we're charging tax on the guy's income who got the metal out of the ground. We're charging the workers tax that dug it up out of the ground. We got the metal. Now they charge tax on the company. Now they charge tax on this. Now the company finally pays all that tax. Now they send it to the company that's going to make the car. Pay tax on that, right? So now they're paying tax on that again. Now they're paying tax on the workers to build a car, paying tax on all the people in the company. They're paying tax on plant. They're paying tax on this. They're paying tax on that. Now they finally end up selling said car to a car dealership, right? So now the car goes to a car dealership. Guess what? There's tax there, right? Of course. So there's tax involved. Everybody's paying tax. Then there's a floor plan. Then there's tax. Then they finally sell it to a consumer who pays tax on it. So what I'm saying is, by the time you're buying that automobile off the showroom floor, the car's been taxed 10, 12 times all in told, right? If there was zero tax throughout that entire process, the car would probably cost you half of what it would cost originally, okay? So if you had a zero tax across the board from smelting the ore to getting it built, for all these things, you would pay so much less. So then you're going to say to me, wait a second, what about the government? Don't they need money? Why would they need money? If the government needs the money, they should get a job, shouldn't they? Like I have one, like you have one. If you need something, buy something, you should get a job. Why does the government go get a job? What do you mean? Well, if you're an individual and you're using their services, how about you pay them for the services rendered? What do you mean? Well, how about if you have a police force and you're using a police force, you would send in money every time you need to use them, like everything else. And then if you're not using them, maybe you shouldn't have to send them in money, right? Oh, well, what if I need them well, yeah, they're there if you need them. If you need them to come over and stop a bank robber, you should have to pay for that visit. Okay? If you don't need them and you lived your life for 40 years, never needed a police officer, why should you have to pay all this money for your whole life for something that you never used? Kind of makes some sense, doesn't it? I think that you might find a lot of phone calls to 911. You might find a lot less people, calling the police nonstop, asking for do stupid things all the time. Maybe for the firemen, get my cat out of a tree when your cat can climb right down. Okay, let's put some reality. I'm putting some broad strokes, some broad examples here, but Jesus's followers initially had a community where they did not charge usury to each other. Okay? Anything else is wrong. That's where everybody's veered off. It's all that greed, corporate greed, and individual greed. These guys live in $1 million mansions, okay, with your money that you worked so hard your whole life on, paying all this tax, all this interest, all the time, or it's all total bullshit. Okay? I'm trying to wake you up a little bit. This is all complete bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's 100% bullshit. What do you mean? How could the bank exist? They can. Okay, charge $50 every loan. If you don't want to loan the money, then you don't get the $50. Sounds fair to me. Well, what do you mean? They can't loan a $100,000 loan for $50? Well, then don't loan it. Well, I need that loan. Well, you should have put in the money into the community as part of the community member, and then you could take out if you needed it, and you petition the community, and then they'd say, oh, okay, you need this. Now somebody would say, gee, I don't think he needs this $100,000 watch. But if he earned it and it's his money alone, then he could buy it. But let's be real. Let's be real. Let's get this straight. First of all, the Fed is it's all fake. Most everything is fake, okay? All the news is fake. All the stuff you see on TV is 100% fake. So everything's pretty much fake if you think about it. It's really disappointing how all this stuff is fake. Let's finish this article. Graham himself, though, has often been cited by critics for contributing to the financial crisis. Gee, you think? He advocates the repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act, bad idea, that mandated the separation of retail investment banking, and pushed for deregulation of the credit default swaps that played a key role in Wall Street's crisis-era troubles. He expressed some optimism that the Fed will be able to navigate in its way through the current situation, but said it will take time. Well, the Fed is not forever shackled by the monetary excess of the Obama era. Oh, bullshit. The sheer size of its assets holdings, the sheer size. They have all the money. The sheer size of its asset holdings virtually guarantees that the Fed will feel the yoke of the massive excess reserves in the banking system for the remainder of this recovery. It's so funny. The sheer size of its assets holding. It's all the money. It's not just some of the money. It's all the money's owned by the Federal Reserve. What do you mean? You actually think that they have a portfolio? They have all the banks, and they have all the money. They have all the money. They have 100% of all the money. Where are you storing your money? In the bank? No, then they have it. You have all the money. They have all the money. Okay? If you want to get your money back, take all your money out of the banks and start a local community where you put in a safe, make your own bank, you have your own safe money, and you share it with yourselves at 0% interest. Anything other than that, you're screwing up your incentive. Okay? Oh yeah, that's going to cause chaos. Not really. It's going to set everybody straight because everything else is bullshit. So, just thought I'd share my 2 cents about it. Gee, what do I know? I'm only a spiritual teacher. So, so the Federal Reserve is total fake. All the interest is made up. I just feel bad for these guys buying. Somebody goes to buy a car and he has to pay 18% interest because he defaulted on the loan, or he didn't make his payments. He was late with the payments because he's trying to, pay his bills. And certainly somebody should have stepped in and helped him restructure his financing ahead of that. What they should have is if somebody's paying interest late, you should have some person, phone you up that's part of it and say, gee, I want to help you restructure your finances to help you. Wouldn't that be smart? Instead of letting people spiral out of control all over the place all the time and go into debt, let's can I come down and see, your personal books, and we'll see your financing, see where you're spending the money wrong, and they should do that. Somebody should do that. I'm not saying it's for free, but somebody should do that. That's definitely would straighten out a lot of people. Instead of spiraling into debt, they're spending their money, putting all the money on their credit cards. Okay, most Americans. I'm only talking about Americans, but this is a worldwide video. Most Americans are spending money they don't have all the time. Everybody's in debt. When I say everybody, the middle class is getting lower and the upper class is getting, they're making way more money. The discrepancies between the two are separating, and they're always going to separate. Like Jefferson said, if the banks are going to be charging interest away, everybody's going to end up, everybody's going to end up, on the selling their houses and living on the beach and basically being pushed into the sea because of all the interest. So the interest is definitely what's destroying everybody. Okay, what everybody's banking on in the future is AI and technology, being able to take away people's jobs, and that way when there's no jobs, then they're going to have a universal income. So you'll be on the dole of the government and banking payout. Okay. Um, how about the the Federal Reserve divest 100% of their funds and give all the money back to the people? Um, yeah, many people have been living in cars and tents. Okay, and it's basic knowledge that you're not taught in school that the Federal Reserve is not part of the government. They're a private world banking conglomerate. They're setting up like they're selling, okay, to both sides. They sell weapons to both sides, and they make money on that. And that's how they end up getting their money in the first place, a lot of it, by selling money to, and egging on the wars. Okay, so, it's all a load of crap. Um, you know, um, if you go back in the history of it, there was the first guy had these first guys starting these big banks. He had our social security cards are our employee ID cards, right? It's all that's part of it. Your social security is your employee ID cards, okay? When you're in the government and you're using your social security number, that's your number, okay? That's your number. That's not like they don't give you another number. They don't have a name. They have a name, but they use your social security number. That's your number. So that's your literal, uh, 9-digit code. That's your 9-digit code that they go by. Okay. Some people freak out about that. They think, if you think about it, when you're birthed, okay, like it's maritime law when you have a birth, when your birth certificate, that's actually like a ship. So you're like a ship in a berth, and then that ship that is in a berth, and it goes out to sea. Same thing. So maritime law, they issue a birth certificate. So what they do is they make you like a straw man, like a corporation. So they're saying that you're this person instead of who you really are, and so then they could use you for all these things. Okay, so it's all made up. It's all made up, and you've been born into the system where you didn't have control on it and of it, and you're in the situation where you grew up with all this interest that you've been paying in your whole life. You paid in the Social Security program if you're American, and they weren't supposed to take that money and use it for anything, but certainly they did. They saw that money sitting there and they said, "We got to take it." Okay, when right before Bush got out of office and Obama got in, uh, you know, they said, "Oh, we have all this debt," and then all the bankers stole all that money when they were loaning out the money to that car uh, to the companies so they wouldn't go out back to GM to float them. They took they took like $1 trillion and gave it to the banks at zero interest, and the money got lost, and they never. So all that money's gone. Wait, what do you mean, Victor? Yeah, all that like $1 trillion of taxpayers' money they took out of the treasury and they gave it to the bank wouldn't default. Meanwhile, the bank had all the money. They make all the interest. So they took $1 trillion of your money and they kept it. And they said they put it on a ledger. They said, "Oops, we lost it." Did you know that there's okay? They have these credit cards, and okay, they have a credit card, and they can buy things with it, and they swipe it. Okay, and you know what happens? That charge doesn't go anywhere. Charge. It's just the credit card that swipes, and it always says the money's there. Fling, fling, fling. I know this for a fact. And they swipe it, and they get whatever they want all the time because they're high up in a bank, and it's all invisible. There's no, it's not being, it's just being run, and people are giving them whatever they want to with these credit cards. Okay, uh, they're not being used. They're not going anywhere. It's fake. It's totally fake. So they take this credit card. They go, okay, can I put the whole car? Can I put this whole boat? Can I put this house on my credit card? I'd really like to pay I get points. Sure you do. They don't get, they don't have any points. They don't charge. It's fake. I'm telling you, they have these fake credit cards. These bankers, I know this. The bankers have these fake credit cards high up. Sometimes they're always the platinum ones, these metal credit cards, these thick platinum credit cards. You're like, whoa, these are nice credit cards. Yeah, these are nice. Not all of them pay nothing, but a lot of them do. So there's zero, like, charge. When they swipe it, I'm telling you, nothing happens. Nothing happens. It just, the charge disappears. It doesn't go anywhere. But the funds are paid for somehow. It says, oh yeah, transferred some money. It's an invisible account. It just whoop. They charge it, and it just always is funded. It's unlimited funds. Unlimited funds. You can use it all the time. It doesn't, I know it doesn't make sense, but it doesn't come from anywhere. There's nothing on the other side of it. It's always just gonna be, it's always paid. And it doesn't get charged anywhere. Because they have all the money. They make all the money. It's all fake. Okay? Just imagine that. If you had a credit card they could use, and there's always unlimited amount of funds on it all the time. And you're not paying it. It doesn't come from anywhere. What do you mean? How could that happen? Well, you own the bank. You own the printing presses that make the money. Do you really think that they're charging it? That comes from somewhere, goes from? That's what I'm trying to explain to you. That's all fake. Okay, you're working all your money, and they have, and they can use these credit cards that have trillions of dollars on it. I mean, what can they spend the money on? Oh, I'm going to do philanthropy. I'm going to help out. So they, put a little bit on paper. Oh, it looks like you did something, right? Yeah, we sent in $1 million for UNICEF. Meanwhile, UNICEF is one of the crookedest places out there. Anyway, everybody wants one of those credit cards, right? That unlimited amount of funds. Only when you end up getting rid of all the banks will you have unlimited amount of funds, because you don't need money. It's all fake. If everybody pulled their own resources and put it in a central, like a town bank, that would pay off all the police and all firemen and everything like that, and that would be cool. Sure, maybe have a coast guard for help, and all this other stuff. 90% of all the military's wasted. Wasted. It's wasted money. They're just flushed down the drain. Gee, why'd you need that, that screwdriver that cost $1,000, Mr. Government? At the hospitals, why do we need, UVs, not a UV, IV, an IV that costs $1,000 for a saline drip, okay? It's all fake. It's all, oh, insurance is paying for it. It's not you, it's insurance. Don't you worry about it. Don't you worry about it. It's all, oh, it's $1,000 for an IV drip. Just sign here. Yeah, your insurance will pay for it. Everybody's paying. It's all fake. I'm just trying to cut through the lies a little bit, but I got fed up when I saw this article about, oh, the Federal Reserve might be worried that they can't raise the lower interest rates anymore. They're the ones who have all the interest. They're the ones that set the interest. They're a private bank. How could they be worried that they can't? It's just fake. They're just putting a spin on it to make you think it's cool, to keep you asleep. Like Trump was asleep, obviously. He was trying to see if he could fire, and I believe that, trying to fire the head of the Federal Reserve. He can't. Oh, yeah, he's going to step down because he's worried that people are going to wake up to the fact that it's a private bank. I think if everybody knew the Federal Reserve is a private bank, um, this would be a better place, you know? Anyway, I'm going to sign off. I did my little rant for this evening. I was going to talk more about spiritual things, but spiritual discernment, using, being more in tune with the Holy Spirit and using your third eye and being able to cut through the BS, right? Maybe that's why they have all these chemtrails in the sky to keep you in the dark, keep your third eye clogged up so you don't, put all those toxins in the water, fluoride in the water and smog in the air and the GMOs in the food, keep you asleep, keep you a drone. Meanwhile, the elites, they're not, they have purifiers in their homes. They're drinking that clean water. They're not breathing in that crappy air. They're eating that good food. They're doing all the, they're going to go for all the longevity things. Meanwhile, you're killing yourself, and they're spending all this money that that they didn't earn, that they're stealing. It just makes me want to throw up. Anyway, like, subscribe, share. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think about mine that I didn't have. That's that the disciples had a community that pooled the resources and didn't charge each other interest. What do you think about that? Think about that. Hmm? These are people that knew Jesus, okay? That that's what they were doing. Why aren't you doing it?